I want to thank all of you myself for being here. I hope you enjoyed the food. I know that they always do a wonderful job. The first thing I really want to do today, my main goal, because I do want to say, and I'm being completely honest, is public speaking would not be on the top 10 list of my favorite things to do. But when Vanessa and I talked, and she asked me to come today, and she told me about the topic, it's very near and dear to my heart. So, of course, I put my selfish feelings aside, and I said, of course, if I can help one person in this room, if they can walk away with something today that I said that's useful, and if you're not suffering yourself personally, but you can share that with somebody that is, then that is my main goal. But with that being said, I want to remove any titles. I want to remove and just kind of strip everything away, and I want you to see me as a person, okay? And I have a purpose for that. And I want this to also be very interactive and informal as much as possible. But I just want to I've been mingling with the crowd as everybody's been eating, and I just want to take just a second and have one or two of you tell me, when you met me, just raise your hand if you feel comfortable, what was your first impression? Just a one-word description. Just anybody?
It was in the paper.
Okay, I'm in the paper. Okay, there's a title that comes with that. So, community educator, work for the hospital. Anybody else? Just a one-word description. Yes, ma'am.
Friend.
Friend, okay. Friend to many. Yes, ma'am. What about, anybody else want to say anything? Yeah, go ahead. Mrs. Kyler.
Didn't do anything growing up.
Yes, ma'am. Well, there's a lot of people here that are familiar to me, and my goal of asking that question is, did the word depressed ever come into your mind? Probably not. Probably not. And I'll tell you, I am very proud of my family. They are my number one. They are my heart. Make me cry. But this is my family, and not just because I'm proud of them, but I brought this picture to also represent something else. In this picture, I weighed 98 pounds, and I'm just, again, stripping it down and keeping it real. I was very depressed. But in this picture, I don't think anybody in here would be able to recognize that, because my smile hides a lot, and I have an amazing husband who's sitting in the crowd today. My two boys, they're healthy and they're perfect in my eyes. Not only that, but I have a huge support group with my other family that's here, friends. So you would never think that I was depressed, but I was. And so when she asked me to speak about that, I can speak from somebody who has experienced it, okay? And so being that said, going into our presentation for the day, people who need help sometimes look a lot like people that don't need help. Think about that for just a second. So, again, if you can take anything away from what I'm saying and me trying to be as stripped down and as personal with you as possible, keep that in mind, okay? And we're going to go and get started. So depression is more common than most of us realize. At any given time, 5% of the U.S. population suffers from depression, and twice as many women. Now, does anybody know why more women suffer than men? I did a little research on that. Does anybody want to? Yes.
Women admit that they have a problem while men don't.
Absolutely. A woman will speak up and be more vocal about it. Yes, ma'am.
There are hormonal and situational things for women, power grids for women.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So women outlive men. Also, women are more open to speaking about it, and that puts us at higher risk. If you have one episode of depression, your chances are 50% that you will have another one. When I started suffering with depression, I was so embarrassed. And I talked to one or two people in my family, snap out of it, just snap out of it. I couldn't. And I felt so guilty because this right here, I have a wonderful life and family and job, and I couldn't understand why I was so sad. But there was no reason behind it. And so I finally reached out to somebody and I sought help. And that's not been something that I've been so vocal about, but again, my passion is for helping other people. So if there's anybody in here that feels like they're embarrassed, or if it's not an actual illness, it is. And I want you to take that away from this today. There are several different types of depression: clinical depression, manic depression or bipolar disorder. There's persistent depressive disorder, dual diagnosis, and SAD, which is also seasonal affective disorder. And we're going to kind of break those down and talk about each one. What is depression? So we're going to start with what it's not. Mental illness is not a weakness. It's absolutely not a weakness. And the fact that all of you came in here today to hear this, it shows, especially if you're suffering, seeking help is the first step, and it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage to admit, especially when, again, you feel like there's going to be judgment and you don't know how people are going to receive that. It's not a lack or a character flaw. Think about it. Is there anybody in this room that wants to be a diabetic? Anybody in this room maybe have been through cancer that said that that's what they wanted, that's what they chose for themselves? Nobody wants to be depressed either. I know I sure didn't. It does not discriminate by race, religion, income, upbringing. Again, great family. I can't say enough good things about where I come from, but I was still depressed. People saying to snap out of it. That's not possible. And sometimes it's not always medication that's going to fix you. We have a lot of calls to our unit, and I get a lot of calls as I'm out in the public, and they ask me, is the first thing that your doctor is going to do is just prescribe me with the medication and then send me home? They're really worried that they're going to be sedated or they're not going to be themselves, and that's absolutely not the case. There's a lot of different options, okay? And we're going to talk more as we get into that too. So what is depression? It's an impact on the way a person thinks, behaves, and interacts with others. I was present in this picture. This actually was taken at my cousin's wedding, and like I said, not happy there, but I appear to be. And being present is not okay if you're just going through the motions, if you're just functioning day to day. My husband and I were suffering, my children didn't really interact with them like I used to, but I still could not figure out why. What is wrong with me? And people would say, Candice, it's really selfish of you because you are blessed. You're too blessed to be depressed. That's one thing that it sticks out, and I remember, I thought, they're right. I have to get back. I have to get my mojo back, I guess you'd say, so that I don't feel this way, so that I don't have to admit to this. It's exactly what it says it is. It's an illness, like we talked about. Nobody would choose this. It's a mental sickness, like any other physical illness, but the good thing about it is it's treatable. And the first thing that you have to do is seek treatment. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in the same situation. Really important, early and accurate diagnosis. Depression is treatable in more than 80% of all cases. Unfortunately, only about half of those suffering from depression seek help. Now, in my mind, I didn't want to seek any treatment because I live here. And people know me, and the outside, I was good at faking it. Fake it till you make it. I also didn't want to go in to, my local and have to admit that. But I finally broke down and did it, and I can tell you that a year and a half later, I'm a completely different person, and I'm a better wife, and I'm a better mother, I'm a better friend, and you can be too. How do you recognize clinical depression? Pervasive sadness, fatigue or loss of energy, disturbed appetite, and I want to say, disturbed appetite, some people when they're depressed, they can overeat. For me, I couldn't eat. I didn't want anything. I couldn't get motivated at all. So hence the 98 pounds, very unhealthy. A lot of people asking questions, what's going on. Again, I don't want to admit I'm a little depressed. Sleep patterns. I couldn't sleep at all, because with mine was associated a lot of anxiety. So I was staying up all the time, doing a lot of exercising, which now I look back and I'm thinking that goes in, but it was in a lot more ways. But I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to take care of things myself. A loss of interest or previous pleasurable activities to you, I would decline a lot of things. Friends would call, didn't really want to participate, just didn't want to be there. I didn't want to drag them down either. Inappropriate feelings of worthlessness or guilt, difficulty concentrating. I recently read a book, and it's called Uninvited. If any of you are interested after this is over, I'll give you the name of the author. But one of the things that I took from that book, she said, you assign thoughts to other people. You assign them based on how you feel internally about yourself. And that hit me. It made me think, and it made me realize that I'm assigning thoughts to these people that they may not have, they don't even exist, which led to further depression, further sadness. How do you recognize manic depression? You have wide mood swings, last for several days to several months. You have extreme irritability. There's euphoria, which is kind of at the very top. You have a high, and then increased energy with restlessness, decreased need for sleep, racing thoughts, rapid speech, with reckless behavior such as spending sprees. But you get that high from that. That's type of self-medication, which we'll go further into as well. How do you recognize seasonal affective? And this time of the year, a lot of people will suffer from that, which is also sad. You know, the weather's changing, the time just changed, it's getting darker. For me, I need the sunshine. I need the vitamin D, I need to get out. When it's so dreary outside, it seems to kind of pull me down a little bit. So you have to find ways, and it's all individualized again, on how you can increase that for yourself. But craving of carbohydrates, that increases the serotonin that your body creates, and that's why sometimes you'll crave those carbohydrates. But after you've come off that high, then you're back down, I guess, in the valley and depressed again. So it's just a vicious cycle. Dual diagnosis and who's at risk. It's a condition where both depression and alcohol or substance abuse are present. And when I first started working at the hospital doing this with mental illness, I had a lot of questions when we would get referrals based off of, do they really qualify or need our service for a mental illness versus do they need new vision because they have substance abuse? But then it hit me. The two a lot of times go hand in hand, because they are self-medicating, because they are depressed, and again, it's a vicious cycle. People who are at risk are those who suffer from depression and those who are recovering from addiction and realizing what has been lost. So a lot of times when they're recovering, they're getting better, they realize they've lost time, maybe they've had family members that no longer communicate with them. A lot of financial issues are associated, which causes more stress and depression in some cases. This is just a summary of the major forms that we just talked about. The major depression, onset, any age, manic depression, teen to young adults, and so on. I'm going to skip over that part. Depression is serious and can be life-threatening. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for American women, 15 to 44. Over 2 million Americans aged 65 and older suffer. 4.5 million people who suffer attempt suicide. And if it's untreated, 15% of those commit suicide. What causes clinical depression? A lot of different things. Can be related to an imbalance of your neurotransmitters, which in your brain, maybe something's just a little off, not working like it should, maybe the levels of serotonin in your blood are low, you need to have your labs checked. Difficult life events can lead to depression. Of course, if you've had the loss of a loved one, certain diseases or illness, family history, certain medications. As I was researching, a lot of our patients that are on beta blockers, a side effect is depression. And so that's treating your high blood pressure, but again, side effects can cause depression as well. Frequent and excessive alcohol consumption. What should you do without clinical depression? First and foremost, you shouldn't do what I did and wait. If you know somebody or if you yourself are suffering, you need to go today. Life is short. You never know what's going to happen, but we want to get everybody to the maximum level, best quality of life that we can. And what's so wonderful is that we have so many resources to do that here. There's no need for you to travel anywhere. Take care of that here. Consult with your family physician. In your chair, I left a depression screening tool. There's also other information there, but I want you to utilize that depression screening tool if you feel like this may be you. I want it to connect. I want you to take it home when you have some time to really think and answer those questions honestly. And if you feel like you're suffering after you take that, take it to your local family physician and just have that conversation and open that door. Let me get back, I'm sorry. Of course, talk to a mental health care professional and have that thorough evaluation completed. What does the evaluation consist of? It's a review of your current symptoms, their frequency and intensity. One thing I want you to understand that everybody experiences sadness, and sadness is circumstantial based off of what's going on in that individual's life. But if you have sadness that is debilitating, it's causing you to not want to interact with family members, or it's inhibiting you from going through day-to-day tasks, then you definitely need to consider talking to somebody, and being more serious could be diagnosed as clinical depression. A discussion of family history, a review of personal history and or medical emotional problems, get a list of your medications to see if anything that you're taking may be related to, and a discussion of current life stressors. Remember that the mind and body are inseparable, and mental disorders are health conditions. So now that I've been through that journey, and I don't want you to get me wrong, I still have days where I really struggle, but I'm an advocate, and I say it's definitely a legitimate illness. I don't fault the people that I chose to talk to for telling me that it wasn't an illness, it was all in my mind, something I can snap out of. I realized that they were not educated. And all of you here today, now that you've heard this, you are. So you can take the first step into getting help. Reach out to somebody else too, and make sure that they have this knowledge. So that information that is on your chair, it's also in the back. Share that with somebody, okay? That's the biggest thing is the stigma. And that's what this next sentence talks about, is the stigma is the biggest obstacle for getting treatment. I want to hear some good news about depression. In the past 25 years, there's been noted strides in the area of mental health. A lot of research being done, a lot of growing effective treatments. So, like I said, not necessarily going and getting medicated. There's a lot of other options. There's talk therapy. There's maybe, you need to exercise a little bit more, becoming more involved with a support group. A lot of times talking about your feelings is going to help more than you probably realize. There's financial support with your insurance, and also there's a lot of powerful consumer and family movements. What can you do? Be informed, so you're here, first step. Share that information with others. Be compassionate and understanding. Don't judge somebody when they tell you that they're depressed, and don't tell them to just snap out of it. Because, again, in this picture, I had everything in the world to be happy about. There was no reason whatsoever that I should have been the way I was feeling, but it was real. And I didn't know what to do, didn't know who to reach out to and turn to. So listen and be proactive and educate enough to educate yourself and other people that are suffering. Be proactive, help others. Local psychiatrists, if you've talked to your family physician, we have Dr. Yalaman Chili here. We work with him on the Senior Behavioral Services Unit, but he also has an outpatient clinic as well on Fort Williams. His office is in with Dr. Michael Swearingen. I'm sure all of you are familiar. And he is more than capable of helping all of you. Crisis numbers are listed here. 1-800-SUICIDE, 1-800-TALK. A lot of you may not feel comfortable to walk in just yet and to have that conversation one-on-one. So there are numbers available so that you can talk to somebody, a healthcare professional, find out if you need to make the next step. And I'll tell you a little bit about our unit. I'm going to ask Luana Wells if she will to join me up here. She's actually our program director, and she has been working in the mental health field for 24 years. 4 years at Coosa Valley. So she's a wealth of knowledge. And when I say that we're a geriatric unit, we take care of patients that are 65 and older in an inpatient setting, but we want to be a resource to our community as well. You see Coosa Valley involved and making sure that we're educating in the community. We want to do the same. We want to be sure that if you have some need or you know somebody, whether we can serve it or not, that you give us a call and then we can direct you from that point. This is a little bit about our unit. It's a 15-bed geriatric. Third floor, Coosa Valley, and we take care of patients that not only suffer with depression, but stress, anxiety, bipolar disorder. There's really nothing that we can't take care of if you give us a phone call, and then we can find a resource that can help, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to introduce Luana, and I think we're going to open it up now to any questions that you guys may have. So I know we covered a lot of information and moved through it pretty quickly, but I hope that you took something away today from that, and I just thank you guys so much for having us.
All right, guys. Wasn't that wonderful? Now, it wasn't just wonderful, but that was brave and courageous and very humbling. So thank you so much because sharing that story. You're right. You're one of the happiest, cheerful, most beautiful young ladies, and you wouldn't know that. And that's why it's so important to get that message out there. And you know what? You took me back a little bit. I knew Candice before she became a nurse because her Aunt Jill talked about her when she was a baby forever and ever. Isn't it amazing what a wonderful young lady she's grown up to be? So let's give her a big hand. So quickly get your hands up and we will get that going, okay? You got questions?
I just want to know, can depression lead to dementia?
Can depression lead to dementia?
A person into dementia.
I'm going to let you answer this question since you were on the clinical side of things.
A person who has depression may eventually develop dementia, but the fact that you have depression doesn't make you any more likely to develop dementia.
Let me ask another question. Having a baby, can it lead to depression that cause you to? And I'm talking about,
we hear more and more about depression after a baby's born, postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
Those things certainly exist, and it's very, very important when you start to feel that you go and talk to your doctor about it. Many women feel like, I shouldn't be depressed, I should be so happy, this is the happiest time of my life. But you've got all kind of hormonal things going on there too.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not feeling wonderful, you need to certainly go and speak with your doctor about that.
This isn't so much a question as a comment from my own personal experience. And that is, as someone who is bipolar, people need to understand that there are many forms of bipolar. And that when you read about it in the literature, you think about great big highs, great big long lows, and things like that. And I was not diagnosed for years because it wasn't even in the books. That you can change mood within a day erratically up and down and up and down. And that is also bipolar. So if you're experiencing real erratic changes of mood that you don't understand, that they don't seem to have any relationship to what's going on in your life, you probably ought to check with somebody.
Absolutely. There are those people who have very rapid cycles.
Yes, that's right.
Very rapid cycles.
You make a very good point, and I know that this slideshow is it's brief. We just wanted to touch on the main topics, but with your point being made, anybody that has any questions, the number to our unit is there. My card is available. You can direct any of those to Luana if you have more specific needs than what we talked about today.
What type of or years do depression come? Early, later in life, and is there age that you can get out of depression?
Unfortunately, depression is a very fatal disease. It can come on early. We treat children with depression. It can come on midlife or even late life. So there's no time that you see that it has to start. Usually you see more midlife, I would say, late teens through 30s, 40s, but certainly there are children. We hear of children every day as young as 5 years old who try to commit suicide.
Very sad, but true. And again, just educate ourselves and know, because in this picture, I was actually 32 years old. So that kind of speaks to your question to let you know that it does not discriminate against age. Yes, sir?
Hi, I'm Robert Coward, and we've been married for 61 years.
Congratulations.
I've been taking care of my wife probably the last 2 or 3 years by myself, no training. And after listening to that, I wonder if I don't have depression problems that I have.
Well, and you may very well. One thing that you'll find in that chair is a flyer on our caregiver support group. So I encourage anybody else that is interested that is a caregiver to attend. The date and time is listed there. It's at the chapel, at the hospital, and refreshments are provided. Luana, myself, Anissa, she's in our group somewhere here in the crowd. I don't know where she was seated. But she is happy and more than capable of helping. So if you want to attend that, it's a very difficult task to care for somebody, but you do it out of love and you do the best that you can. So sometimes you just have to have a little bit of extra support.
Well, certainly we know that people who are caregivers have a great deal of stress on them as well and need a little help from time to time.
I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yes, sir. No, sweet. I know them from way back, so I know he takes good care of them.
And speaking of caregiver, I used to be a caregiver, keeping seniors in my home, me and my husband for a few years. And is there any way that you think that it's when you had some bipolar, you had, some that was kind of real aggressive and stuff. Mm-hmm. Now, if there is a thing that you think that people that have as a caregiver, keeping them in their home, is that a thing of being a fear of having people like that aggressive in your home? Actually, aggressive kind.
I think that has to be dealt with on an individual basis.